Hi, my name is Kimberly Ball. The famous theorist I will tell you about is Dr. Aaron Beck, who is known to friends and colleagues as Tim. He's an American psychiatrist and a professor emeritus of psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Beck was born on July 18, 1921 in Providence, Rhode Island, the youngest of the four children of his Russian Jewish immigrant parents. He is 93 years old and has been married to his wife Phyllis for 61 years. He is the father of cognitive therapy. Doctor Beck graduated from Brown University in 1942 and went on to medical school at Yale University, obtaining his M.D. in 1946. He served a number of internships and residencies, which helped to develop his interest first in neurology and then in psychiatry. His years at Austin Riggs in Massachusetts were marked by the practice of psychiatry mixed with social sciences, giving him a strong base for psychotherapy. He then went on to serve in the Army for 2 years as an assistant chief of neuropsychiatry. Dr. Beck started his teaching career at the University of Pennsylvania in 1954. He learned formal psychoanalysis and was psychoanalyzed himself. He believed in the theory's tenets and explanations of how to help people. During the late 1950s and the early 1960s, the interdisciplinary psychiatry department experienced change, especially in becoming more experimental and less psychoanalytic, creating tension. Dr. Beck learned research here, yet that also contributed to his breaking away from psychoanalysis. By 1956, he started having doubts about psychodynamic theory and its theory of depression, which is that depression is the product of an unconscious wish. His first experiment was to investigate the dreams of people to test the hypothesis that depressed people have more hostility expressed in their dreams, representing anger turned in on themselves. He found that depressed people are more likely to have dreams involving loss, being rejected, or being abandoned. He wrote his first paper in 1959 about what he called the masochistic dreams of depressives. He created the Beck Depression Inventory, which is still widely used today, in assessing the severity of depression. He believed in experimentation and that the idea that data comes before theory, the opposite of which had been a problem in psychiatric research. In the 1960s and the 1970s, the practice of psychoanalysis came under scrutiny for its lack of experimental data to prove its effectiveness, which Freud had considered as unnecessary, citing that the observations made by psychiatrists during therapeutic sessions were sufficient to validate the theory. Dr. Beck believed that depression is the result of a thought disorder where people exhibit a negative bias in interpreting information. Instead of unconscious drives, cognition is the issue. He received negative feedback and not encouragement to pursue further research. As the department continued to divide, he chose isolation, taking a 5-year sabbatical from the university, during which time he logged and analyzed all of his own negative thoughts as well as those of his patients. He believed that automatic negative thoughts are the root of many mental disorders, as they lay the foundation for how a person interprets both internal and external stimuli. Self-critical, self-denigrating thoughts like I'm worthless, I can't do anything right, I'm unlovable, I'm helpless, my life is hopeless, there's no point in living, cause people to develop a negative view of all aspects of their life, representing a distortion in their thinking, through which they misinterpret all that happens in their lives through the mechanisms of selective abstraction, overgeneralization, dichotomous thinking, catastrophizing, and not seeing any alternative. This was the start of his idea of cognitive theory. In 1967, he published his landmark book on cognitive therapy of depression, which is still widely cited. Cognitive therapy holds that a patient's cognitive processes are distorted by automatic negative thoughts, which become embedded in a person's schema and worldview. He and other psychologists went on to apply his theory to many other mental health issues, such as schizophrenia, eating disorders, drug abuse, marital problems, hypochondria, panic disorders, anxiety, and suicide, and to show empirically that his theory is effective. His theory explains how the assumptions of negative intent in circumstances and happenings in life contribute to the hopelessness felt in suicidal persons. His therapy has helped many people, as he has developed treatment protocols and many scales to be used in evaluating the mental health status of people. These scales, still used today, include the Beck Hopelessness Scale, the Beck Anxiety Inventory, and the Beck Scale for Suicide Ideation. His theories have been foundational in the development of cognitive behavior therapy. Dr. Beck has authored and co-authored over 200 articles and 24 books. He has received many awards, including the Distinguished Scientific Award for the Applications of Psychology in 1989 for his outstanding contributions to the advancement of understanding of psychopathology and the development of cognitive therapy. In 2006, he was awarded the Lasker Award for Clinical Medical Research, the American equivalent of the Nobel Prize for Physiology, for his pioneering work in the creation of psychotherapy and his model of cognitive therapy. He is truly one of the great psychologists of the 20th century.